Hi. In this video, I'll walk you through the Indiana Jones and Fate of Atlantis interactive prologue, entirely made with VBML, which is a new language that's dedicated to assembling, queuing and coupling videos together on the internet in order to make, among other things, interactive video tracks. So this is Motionbox running here on the left. Motionbox has been a fairly long process. For me, it started more than 10 years ago. In a nutshell, the idea was to make a video browser. A video browser is the equivalent of the web browser, except it's dedicated to video, meaning that it's going to access video tracks as prime resources and then let you navigate through them horizontally via playlist, search queries, and so on. And now, more recently, vertically via what I called QR codes, which are the equivalent of HTML hyperlinks. Let's start the video here. This is the LucasArts splash screen. And here we go. So everything that you see here, everything that you're going to see here, and everything that you're going to hear, except John Williams' famous music, famous score, which is impossible to recreate via AI at this moment, and the glass shattering sound that you hear at the beginning, which would be recreatable, but at the time of this project I didn't do it, is AI generated. So it means that it's been a lot of prompting, a lot of iteration, but the background images that you're going to see and the actor that you're going to see and the transition that you're going to see and the voice that you're going to hear of the actor are entirely generated based on text. So it's semantic, it's textual information that leads up to content here. And this is the splash screen of the video. So it's a traditional video. As you can see, we have a timeline here. It's a short timeline for now, but might expand soon. We have a background, we have a foreground, and you might notice this. This, yeah, it's a QR code. You see them everywhere, right? One could argue that there are too many of them already. It's a QR code. A QR code, or here a video tag, I explained in a minute what's the difference, is the equivalent of the HTML hyperlink for video. So when I thought about making video frames interactive, I realized that a QR code was the right way to go because it can be embedded in a frame, and so it can be self-contained in the data, because here, even though what we see is just an abstract shape, it actually contains data, and that data is VBML, which is a dedicated language that runs behind the scene of that video. This is VBML, and what you're witnessing here is actually 75 lines of code that are fully responsible for this entire interactive video that we are about to go through together. So I'm going to resume that and I'm going to interact with it. The overing, as you can see, works. And when I click on it, what happened is not some kind of hidden button on the overlay that was defined via metadata. It's not about that. It's about scanning each pixel in a given frame and identifying whether we have a QR code or not. And when we have one, we're going to map the coordinates of the rectangle and show this rectangle on the UI. So it's live parsing of a video feed, meaning that if we had a guy in the background with a video tag t-shirt wandering around, you would be able to click him, literally. So that's much more advanced to what you would see on something like YouTube, which uses metadata overlay, interactive overlay, meaning that there's a script somewhere that tells, oh, look, at 1 and 50, just display that rectangle, which by the way might be clickable. You know, it's not the same thing. Okay, so here we see a background which has been generated by Midjourney. It's been a bunch of iteration to do that, and then animated via Runway, which generates at the moment 4 seconds of useful videos, which are a lot like Lego building blocks. Because if I go in the editor here of the Attic, for instance, here is the sequence that we're seeing in Motionbox. It's a bunch of Runway video clips assembled together like Lego. One is at 100%, the other is at reverse, so that it creates this extensive chunk of video that looks like a moody, like ambiance video scene. And on top of it, you have a plane, which are interactive video tags here. And so I'm going to show you how they work. Let me pause this and let's go in Krita. So Krita is an open source. Krita is an open source photo editor. It's like Photoshop, except it's entirely free, and the entire source code is available for you to hack on. And the license is GPL, I believe. So if I get there and have this QR code, I might be able to copy it in the scene. But first, let me show you how to generate a QR code. So here, if I go there, if I go in Motion Monkey and go there, I'm going to be able to click on the edit button here. So that's the edit button in the Motion Monkey application. And then I'm going to enter some VBML, which is dash. Attic is the name of the function that I want to call in VBML. Just going to be Attic, comma, desk, I believe. Desk is a parameter. I could have other parameter. But for this one, I just have one. And once I'm done, I just click wherever, and boom, that's a video tag, like that, just like that. And here I can save it, and it's saved. And then I'm going to open Krita here. Okay, so Krita is here. Here what I did is appending a font awesome icon to make it more explicit in the Canva. But aside from this, I did nothing. So I'm going to copy this one and put it there. And that's it. It's in the scene. Okay? It's a bit too big, but that's okay. Let's hit Shift. We keep Shift pressed and resize it to our liking to keep the aspect ratio with Shift, and then we move it where we want. And once we're happy with it, we hit Control and we start moving it in the space. That's so convenient. So Krita is very powerful for this. And then you let go. And the opacity goes to 50 here. And there you are. Just like that, I created a fully interactive QR code video tag that's embedded into my scene here. Meaning that when I go back to the interactive experience here, let me put back my face. When I go back here, I'm able to interact with it. Let's do that now. So here you see in transition, once again, these transitions are all runway. It's camera movement. I'm either going to zoom out or zoom in. I do it very subtly, because if you do it too much, you end up with uncanny results and shapes try to go crazy. And so you have to be very subtle about it, which is perfect when you want to emulate that adventure game vibe, which are very cozy and relaxed atmosphere. You know, it works well for that. Here we have another scene. So again, it's a background generated via Midjourney. We have the foreground here, which was generated separately. That's Indy, based on Harrison Ford reference. And then I stitched the two together. But due to the fact that I'm using Midjourney with the same instruction for the light, you get the feeling that both of these are in the same room. It's crazy. And when you use Runway on top of this, as you can see, there's blending of the light between the foreground and the background. It's as if those two layers are together. It's magical. Look at the hat and look at the when you look at the hat and when you look at the light animation on the hat, it's pretty nice if you ask me. And so I'm blurry here. Okay. So here I have two options. I can either explore that cross or either explore that statue. It's up to me. And when I click on something, you'll notice something happening. So I click on that and look at this bar here. Okay, so when I do that, the the URL of the video changes. That's because I'm drawing inspiration for something called Plant.uml, which stores the information, the context information, inside of the URL as an archive, a compressed base 64 parameter. That's the context you see here, right? So this context here contains all the choices that the player or spectator did since the beginning of the video movie, meaning that all these choices are stored inside of the URL directly. That's very powerful. Why is that? Well, because you could pick that URL up and send it to a friend, and he would get to the precise moment you're in the adventure while retaining all the choices that you did prior to this. And so that's very great. And in Motion Monkey, you could even swipe to the right and you have that live video attack generated according to the current position you're in the media, and if somebody scans that, boom, they're in the adventure at the precise moment in the timeline with all the choices that you did retain through that smart context retaining information here. And it could be pretty dense. It could be thousands of words and parameters that will then be interpreted when we reach that function. So let me get back a little bit to what we were before. If I get back here and if I click on here, what will happen, like I showed together, is that it's essentially calling the attic function with the desk parameter. So let's go into the VBML here. That's the attic function. Just like that, we define a function in VBML. The documentation is coming, but there are a lot of examples at the moment, so that's cool. So you have your attic function here, and underneath here, you have a bunch of arguments. And so as you can see here, if we require argument desk, which is if the argument is desk, it's a very simple syntax. Then we return attic 3 and attic 4. What are attic 3 and attic 4? Where there are video chunks based on the timeline here. That's our timeline here. Each video slices as an ID, intro, attic, and so on. And so here I'm essentially telling VBML, just queue in those two video clips afterwards. And if it was crossed, that would have been this one, and so on. So it's fairly cool. So if I go there, I click on the cross, the engine will queue in what's related to the cross, which is video clips related to the cross, and then back to the lobby, back to the hub.
Brings back memories of my father.
So yeah, let's go forward here. This is a hub. So what's a hub? Well, a hub is a simple track, except it loops on itself, meaning that, and that's the beauty of it, when people have to make a choice, they don't have to be in a hurry, because you can specify an ambient background which will loop. So they will have an ambient background that stays, that keeps playing, and the foreground videos can be a chunk of video that loop on themselves. Meaning here, even if I'm not doing a choice at the end of the timeline here, as you can see, it's going to go back in time and loop seamlessly. So that's the beauty of it. You feel like you're in the universe, you're immersed, because the current scene loops on itself. And due to the fact that we are relying on runway generated videos, well, we end up having the feeling of being there because it loops perfectly on it. So let me show you. Let me pause that. Let's go back to the lobby. Let's pause this. All right. So that's the attic. That's the video project responsible for the attic. So here, a bunch of mid-journey clips that have been animated via runway. So when you put them close together, it looks like a decent animation. Then the Hindi head, which is, I did that prior to lip syncing. So it's essentially a bunch of short runway clips stitched together. And here is the attic. So here is the attic. It's two runway videos of 4 seconds, one at 100%, one in reverse, and the same for the second one. And so this is a perfect loop here. It's a perfect loop, meaning that it fits perfectly for what we call a hub here. hub is Attic 2. As you can see, it starts at 18 seconds. So if I get back here, it should be 18 seconds where it starts. And so, yeah, 18 seconds, and it loops all the way to there and then goes back here until the viewer makes a choice. So that's that. So here I have my overlay. Okay, and the second project that I'd like to show you is this one. So this one is the desk. So again, this is the lobby of the desk, if you will. It's a hub looping on itself, perfect loop again. You have the video tags fading on the foreground, and then the cross section, the cross section, and then the gargoyle section. What's great about that is that from a single video, you could come up with an interactive video. You don't have to have different video clips for each. It could be a single lengthy video that you edit through KDN Live, and it works. And so that's the beauty of it. So everything that you've just seen, and this one makes me really happy. Everything that you've just seen is entirely open source. Motionbox here is a GPL-based project tool based on SkyKit, which is entirely LGPL, and SkyKit embeds Qt framework, libVLC, and libtorrent, right? All of this is open. Great. Krita here is an entirely GPL open source photo editor tool. So all of this is open source. KDN Live here, same thing, part of the KDE suite. It's a beautiful tool. It's a beautiful free tool. Again, entirely open source. How cool is that? And Indie that you've just seen is hosted on Vox. Vox is my homemade platform, but it's based on PeerTube. PeerTube, again, is entirely open source. How cool is that? And so Vox is a PeerTube modded instance that supports VBML, that only supports VBML actually. And so again, it's open source. And so it means that if you use a codec like AV1, and if you use, say, if you host your interactive video on BitTorrent, for instance, the entire pipeline, the entire chain, video chain, would be open source. How cool is that? The entire chain would be open. So that's such an accomplishment. It's so good when you think about it. So even though the AI tools that I'm using, Runway, Midjourney, and so on, are entirely closed, we know that stable diffusion and stable video are coming along fairly soon. So I'm very happy about the fact that this is showing exciting results that can be accessed both on desktop and on mobile, and soon on remote screen even with Tvolution. How promising is that? But I'm very happy that I stayed true to my ethical values with motion freedom, you know, the freedom to access, the freedom to organize, and freedom to share, and stay true to my values here, to my ethical and, you know, open source values here. So I'm happy that along the entire pipeline, along the entire chain of production, we can stay open with that. Now, Motion Monkey is closed at the moment, the UI is closed, but the entire framework, which is 80%, if not 90% of the project, is LGPL. It's incredible. So if you want to try this for yourself, install Motionbox or Motion Monkey, open a new tab here, type Indiana Jones, search on Vox, and you'll find it. It's there. It's online. You can try that on desktop. You can try that on Motion Monkey. You can just go online and go to vox.omega.gg. You go there and you have a bunch of them available for you. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have questions, if things are not clear, if anything comes up, let me know. Thank you very much for your attention, and have a good one.